Last class, we have started a discussion on dividend. But before going on discussion, there is a little bit changes in your continuous evaluation component due to this lockdown. What we have decided now, since midterm, we are not conducting any midterm for any subject. So a little bit change in continuous evaluation component. Now your continuous evaluation will be look like this. Your continuous evaluation will look like this. The assignment have 10% weightage. Online test, one quiz is already conducted, and I'll take one more quiz on online mode through edits that have a weightage of 10%. Then there is a presentation, and in lockdown, how we'll conduct the presentation is you have to pick out any topic. A student, you have to pick out any topic from your course handout, prepare a 10-minute video on that, and then upload on edit in an assignment. That will be considered as your presentation. Assignment 10%, that it can be a case study on capital budgeting evaluation method that you have to prepare and submit in edit. Online test, we have already conducted one online test and we will conduct one more. For presentation, you have to select one topic, prepare a video of 12 to 15 minutes and upload on a edit. If you find any problem in uploading on edit, you can directly email to me. So that is the component of presentation, which have a weightage of 10% in entire marks. And last is a term paper. There is a detail of term paper, what I am talking about. Every student got a list for an organization study. That's the replacement of your summer internship, where you got a list of a company, you got a list of the organization. Into that part only, you have to prepare a detailed term report, and that term report will be evaluation of their long-term source of finance. You have to analyze the capital budgeting decision of the firm. You have to study the working capital and discuss about the dividend. So this will consider as your term project and which have a weightage of 20%. Mainly this term paper is replacement of your midterm examination. So since we are not conducting this midterm examination due to this lockdown and other current situation in the market, so that will be replaced by a term paper. So here in term paper, you have to collect the data for 2014-15, 2015-16 till 2018-19. Okay, so the financial data of that particular company and prepare this report. The report have a 3 chapter. Number 1, introduction and function of corporate finance, analysis and discussion on a question. The question, these 4 questions should be discussed as a chapter 2, and finally you have to write a conclusion and you have to submit a term paper, and that term paper is also submitted in a soft copy through edit portal. So that's a new component of your marks, the new component of your continuous evaluation. And when college will reopen, we will conduct your interim examination. Please make a note of this and start preparing your presentation first. I'm again telling you, for presentation, you have to pick out any topic from your handout, prepare a video for 12 to 15 minutes and upload on edit assignment section. Clear? Any confusion? Any confusion?
No, sir.
Fine. So that's a change in your continuous evaluation portion. Now we'll start our class. Last class we started unit 5, where I discussed about what is the meaning of dividend and what are the major feature of dividend. Into this part, I explain you how to calculate a dividend yield. We do a certain numerical problem in this, then we'll go ahead. At last class, I told you that when we are calculating a dividend yield, the dividend yield for investor will be calculated on a market price, while the dividend declaration will be calculated on a par value of a share. So here is a question. A company declares a dividend of 10%. The par value of share of the company is 100, 10, and market price of share is 20. Find the dividend yield ratio for investor. See, in this question, we have to calculate a dividend yield. And as we are aware that the dividend yield will be calculated as dividend per share, the dividend which is received by the shareholder divided by market price. The first part of question itself explains the company declare a dividend of 10%. When company declare a dividend, company calculate their dividend at par value. And for company point of view, they will calculate their dividend on rupees 10. But for investor point of view, when we try to calculate our dividend yield, we are concerned about the market price. So here, when we try to calculate a dividend yield, our formula will be dividend per share divided by market price of that particular share. Market price is given in a question, that is 20. Market price is already given in a question. The market price per share is $20. But this dividend per share is missing. We have to calculate a dollar value of dividend. And our question is given a dividend is the company declares a dividend of 10%. It means the percentage value of dividend is given, but to calculate a dividend yield, we require a dollar value for that. So step 1, we will calculate the dividend per share in terms of dollar, in terms of money. So here dividend company have declared a dividend of 10%. So my dividend per share become 10% of a par value of share. Always remember, when company declare a dividend, they calculate on a par value. So 10% on a par value or face value of a share. The face value is given $10. So for company point of view, dividend per share will be 10% of $10, that is $1. So company is giving a dividend of rupees 1 per share. Now we have to convert that rupees 1 per share as a dividend yield. Fine. So my dividend yield become dividend per share divided by market price of share. Now we have already calculated the dividend per share, that is a 10% of rupees 10. That become $1. So my dividend yield is 1 divided by 20, that is 0.05 or 5%. So dividend yield on this share is 5%. Although company have declared a dividend of 10%, but for investor point of view, we are just receiving a dividend of 5%. Because dividend yield is always calculated on a market price for investor, and declaration of dividend, that is dividend payout, will be calculated on a par value by the company. So in this question, our dividend yield is 5%. Any confusion? Fine. Now please solve this question. I'll give you 5 minutes, then I will solve it. Question number 2. Company declared a dividend of 7% on share with a par value of $20. Fine. Here company declaring a dividend of 7% with a par value of rupees 20. An investor calculated his dividend yield is just 3%. He calculated his dividend yield as 3% only. Find the market price of that share. Here we have to calculate a market price because dividend yield is given. we have to calculate a market price of a share. Please calculate and you can raise your hand if done with your calculation. A dividend yield is given, that is 3%. Okay.
Sir, is it 46.66?
46.66.
66.
Okay. 46.66. 1.4 divided by 3%.
1.4 divided
Ah,
by 36.
fine, that's right. See, if we have to calculate it, the dividend yield is given. Dividend yield is 3%. And in this formula, if we try to calculate the market price of a share, our market price of share become dividend yield, sorry, dividend per share divided by dividend yield. Market price per share become dividend per share divided by dividend yield. And what would be dividend per share? 7% of 20. So dividend per share, we can write down my dividend per share is dividend per share become 7% into par value, that is $20. That become 1.4. We have a data of dividend per share. We know our dividend yield. So market price simply become 1.4 divided by 3%. That is coming 46.66. 46.66. So the market price of this share become 46.66. So always remember, when you are calculating a dividend yield, we should be very cautious because we are not considering the par value for a calculation of dividend yield. Dividend yield is always calculated on a market price for a shareholder, while dividend payout will be calculated on a par value. It means if you are a manager of a company and same time you are acting as a shareholder, as a manager, you will talk about, I am declaring a dividend of 7%. But as an investor, you will talk about that I am receiving a dividend of 3%. If let's assume you are a manager of this company, the company which have declared a 7% dividend to their shareholders, and you are a shareholder as well. You have invested into this company as well. So as a manager, you will use a statement, the dividend payout is 7% for my company. And as an investor, you will use a term, the dividend yield is just 3% for my investment. So always remember dividend payout, when a company calculates their dividend, they are just concerned about the par value. They are not concerned about market value at all. Although their dividend decision may change the market price of a share. Like in this case, if your company is declaring a dividend of 7%, that is a 3% yield to the investor. If at same time another company is just giving a dividend yield of 2%, due to higher dividend yield, it may possible that your company attract more investor and your share price will go up. So dividend yield may change the market price, may change the market capitalization of a company, but company is not concerned about the dividend yield. Company is always concerned about the dividend payout, which will calculated on a par value, and investors are concerned about the dividend yield, which is calculated on a market value. So that's a contradiction in a dividend policy. Because for investor point of view, we are looking for a market price, but for a company point of view, I'm only looking for a par value or a book value of share. I'm not concerned about the market price. Clear? Fine. Now there are certain key dates which is linked with the dividend decision. The certain key dates which are always linked with the dividend, always linked with the declaration of dividend in any company. These key dates are: number one, declaration date. As name suggests, declaration date is a time or a specific day when your board of directors announces about their intention to pay a dividend to shareholders. Like after preparation of your financial statement in the end of March, your board of directors met together on a 15th of April. That day they decided to declare a dividend of 7%. Or that day they decided to declare a dividend of ₹2 per share. That date will be known as a declaration date. So declaration date is a first step towards declaring a dividend to their shareholder. The day when your board of directors decided to pay a dividend to shareholder is called declaration date. The second important date is book closure date, which is the most important. Book closure and record date are the two most important date in a dividend declaration. Book closure, as name suggests, let's assume company X have decided to declare a dividend and that declaration date was 15th of April. After giving this announcement into a market, so many new investors will try to buy the share of that company to earn that dividend amount. Like if company SBI have declared a dividend of ₹20 per share, that is 200% dividend on their face value of 10. On a basis of that announcement, so many new investors would like to make an investment into SBI to earn that dividend amount. It might be possible 1 lakh new investor enter into SBI share. So who will get a dividend? Company must have a certain accounting procedure. Company must have a certain deadline. Company must have a certain fixation of a date. Company should have a certain criteria to give a dividend to their shareholder. That's why that date is known as a book closure date. Book closure date. Book closure date is a date on which company will close its book for share transfer. It is the date when company will stop transfer of their share. The person who are a holder of share of a company on that particular date will get a dividend. Like if book closure date is 15th of August and I be an investor of SBI, I sell my share on a 15th of August at 3:30 p.m. Since I'm selling my share at 3:30 p.m., the share will be transferred in a buyer account on 17th of August. But since I was a holder till 15th of August and 15th of August is a book closure date for dividend, The dividend will given to me, not to the new buyer of that share. So book closure date simply explain a date when company will close their book for transfer of a share. Any person who hold the share till date will get a dividend from a company. In my this example, if I am a owner, if I am holding a share of SBI and book closure date is 15th of August, it might possible I sell my share on 16th of August. It might possible I sell my share on after 3 o'clock on 15th of August, but still I'll get a dividend from the company because my book closure date was 15th of August. Until 15th of August, I was the owner of share. I was the shareholder of that company as per the record of company. So book closure date is simply defined as a date when company will close their book. Company will not permit to transfer their share. Company will not allow to trade in a share as per their book. Although the shareholder can transfer, buy and sell their share in a market, but for company point of view, company will close their account for dividend of the share. Clear? So declaration date when they declare it, book closure date then when they close their books of account, and the share or the shareholder as per their record will get a dividend for this year. That is called book closure date. Book closure date is very much similar to the record date. Record date and book closure date are more or less similar to each other, and generally the company declare their book closure date and record date that will be very much same, like 15th of August is my book closure date, 15th of August is my record date as well. Record date, it means getting a record from your book. Simply record date means when company is getting a record from their books of account, from books of their share transfer. So record date and book closure date are very much similar to each other. Record date and book closure date will be generally a same date, or there will be hardly a difference of 1 day. Like my book closure date can be a 15 and my record date can be 16. It means all the shareholders who have registered with a company as this date will get a dividend from the company. But any shareholder who is not registered till that date will not receive a dividend from a company. That's why it's called record date. Next one is called payment date. Payment date is a day when check will be handed over or check will be mailed to all the shareholders, or banking transfer will be done for a shareholder. Like my record date is 15th of August and I'm transferring the amount by 1st of September. So 1st of September will become my payment date. The day shareholder will receive their amount, the day money will be transferred into account of shareholder will be known as a payment date. Now, the two date, in dividend and ex dividend, this is very used in a numerical problem. Okay, which is very much used in a numerical problem. See, in dividend, as name suggests, if share is coming with a dividend, if share is coming with a dividend, it's called in dividend. And the day trading permit the dividend to be paid, the day the trading permit the dividend to be paid is called in dividend date. It is the last date where if I buy a share, I'll get a dividend. So when we are doing a numerical calculation, we will calculate a share price in an in dividend and ex dividend. In dividend, you are eligible to get a dividend. Ex dividend, after the dividend, it means anyone who is buying a share in ex dividend date will not get a dividend from a company. So to understand it, I'll give a very simple example. Let's assume A person A is investing in dividend, and person B is investing in X dividend. Which share price will be higher? And if you are a person A and you are making an investment into share of SBI, you'll get a dividend of 5 rupees. Dividend of 5 rupees. Okay. And if I'm a person B and if I'm making an investment into share of SBI, I'll not get a dividend. Not get dividend. It means there is a loss of 5 rupees for me. For person A, as person A is getting a dividend because he has made an investment into in dividend date, so he'll get a dividend of 5. While person B is making an investment on X dividend date, so he'll not get a dividend. That is a direct loss of rupees 5. For person B, there is a loss of rupees 5. For person A, as he is getting a dividend of rupees 5, let assume SBI declare a dividend of rupees 5. So he'll get a dividend of rupees 5, while person B will not receive any dividend. That is a net loss of rupees 5 for person B. So always remember, when you are making an investment into share market, when anyone would like to buy a share into share market, they always consider the dividend as a part of their return. So they are concerned about the in dividend and ex dividend date. Because if you are making investment in dividend, you'll immediately get a 5 rupees as an outflow for you, sorry, as an inflow for you, because you are getting 5 rupees as a dividend. So that 5 rupees will come to you. If you are making investment on an ex dividend date, that amount will not pay. It means there is a loss of rupees 5 for you. So in dividend and ex dividend, it becomes very crucial while making an investment into shareholder, while making an investment into share in the stock market. So as an investor, we will always calculate, we always try to keep a watch on in dividend and ex dividend date. Clear? Any confusion on this date? Fine. Now we'll enter into a dividend policy. See, when we using the term dividend policy, there's a two key term. One is dividend, other is policy. Dividend, I've already explained you what do you mean by dividend. And policy is a planning. Policy is a strategy. Policy is always considered as a systematic way of operation. So here dividend policy simply refer as the role of management, the decision of a management, the strategy of a management, the strategy from a board of directors, the strategy from a top management of a company regarding the distribution of dividend, regarding a distribution of a dividend. So dividend policy simply refer as the policy or a strategy that the management formulate in regards to the distribution of earning as a dividend to their shareholder. Fine. Dividend is always a part of net profit of a company. So there is a two crucial ratio will be calculated into this part. In dividend policy, always management will calculate two crucial ratio. The first ratio is called dividend payout ratio, and second one is called retention ratio. So in dividend policy, any board of director, all the top management of a company will decide on these two ratio, and these two ratio depend on a multiple factor. It's not like that. If these two factors will be randomly decided by the top management. They will use lots of calculation from their financial statement. They will think about the future planning of a company. And on the basis of that future planning and utilization of fund, they will calculate these two ratio, which will become a part of dividend policy of a company. Like a simple example, I'm giving an example of a let's assume a steel manufacturing company. There are two steel manufacturing company, company X and company Y. Let's assume both have a earning of 1,000 crore, the net profit of 1,000 crore. It might be possible the company A declare a 50% amount as a dividend because company do have a certain future plan about utilization of a profit, like company want to renovate their existing factory. So out of 1,000 crore, they want to use 500 crore for improvement in their manufacturing facility, while company B does not have that such plan. Company B does not have any future plan on utilization of that fund. Sorry, it may possible due to lack of utilization of future plan, which is the lack of utilization of fund in the future, it may possible that company B declare 80% as a dividend. So although the income level is same, both company have a net profit of 1,000 crore, but here they are declaring they are declaring 500 crore rupees as a dividend, while in a company B they are declaring 800 crore as a dividend to their shareholder. So this depend not only depend on a net profit, but it's also depend on a future utilization of a fund, the thought of a management about utilization of a fund, the situation in a market, the cost of a capital, the interest rate on a loan, the market situation, the condition of an economy of that particular country. Considering all these factors, company will decide a 2 ratio which will frame the dividend policy of that particular company. The company will decide a dividend payout ratio, which is simply calculated as dividend per share divided by earning per share, and dividend per share divided by EPS into 100. And how we calculate EPS? Earning per share is net profit divided by number of shares, number of outstanding share. So company will calculate first, they will calculate the net profit by preparation of income statement. After preparing that income statement, company will calculate their EPS, earning per share, which is simply calculated as net profit divided by number of outstanding share. The net profit figure will come from income statement, and number of outstanding share will come from a balance sheet. So company will calculate their EPS. After calculation of EPS, the management will decide a dividend payout ratio. That dividend payout ratio is dividend, the declared dividend per share divided by EPS. Simply the term dividend payout ratio explain the portion of earning per share will be given back to the existing shareholder in a company. Dividend payout ratio is always a portion from EPS, which is given back to the shareholder. So if it's a portion of EPS, it will calculate it from as a part of EPS. That's why formula say dividend per share divided by EPS, and dividend payout generally indicated in a percentage, so into 100. The second formula to calculate dividend payout is, rather than using EPS, we will use return on equity. We will use return on equity, and here retention ratio will be calculated first. Here we'll decide on a retention ratio. The retention ratio, as name suggests, the amount which is retained by company. The amount which is retained by a company is known as a retention ratio. So out of return on equity, a certain portion will be retained by a company. So dividend payout ratio can be calculated as return on equity, that is ROE, into 1 minus retention ratio, Retention ratio simply explains the amount of profit retained by company for their future use. The amount of profit which is used by company, which is kept by company for their future use. Like in my previous example, out of 1000, company A is retaining 500, that is the retention ratio become 50%. Company B, which is decided to declare a dividend of 800 crore out of 1000, so their retention ratio is 20%. So dividend payout ratio may be calculated on a retention ratio, or it can be directly calculated as dividend per share divided by EPS. Both method is acceptable. Both method is used in the industry. So dividend policy is always about calculation of a dividend payout ratio, the portion of income distributed to the shareholder is called dividend payout ratio. Okay. Then what is the significance of this policy? Why company is giving so important? Why this dividend policy become important for any company? Okay, that is called significance of dividend policy. This dividend policy is always very significant for a company. Company always try to create a balance between growth of company and the distribution given to the shareholder. It does not seems that company try to create an unbalanced, unhealthy relation with the shareholder. Unhealthy relation, it means company is earning huge profit but is not ready to give anything to the shareholder. That create an unhealthy relationship with the shareholder, and shareholder will start moving out from that company. So always the first significance of dividend policy is to create a balance between the growth of company and distribution to the shareholder, because shareholders or owner of a company always concerned about their profit. The major motive behind investment is to earn a profit for me. If I'm making an investment in a share of any company, I'm mainly concerned about my profit. I know that my profit will come from a growth of a company. If my company is growing, I do expect that my income should grow with the same ratio. If company is growing by 20%, I do expect that my income should grow by 20%. It does not like that company is growing by 20% and I'm just getting an income of 1%. That will not acceptable to any shareholder. None of the shareholder will accept that situation for a company. They might accept at an early stage of a company. They might accept at a startup stage of a company. But for a longer run, no shareholder is ready to accept a huge gap between growth rate to the company and earning to a shareholder. So the first significance of a dividend policy is to create a balance. Every time when a board of director or top management try to frame a dividend policy, they always try to establish a balance between these two factors. They calculate the sustainable growth rate of a company. First, they calculate the sustainable growth rate. What is the growth rate in a company business? In a similar way, they try to distribute a dividend to their shareholder. Like Reliance is the best example of this. From their inception, from day they have listed their share into a market, they are giving a good dividend to shareholder. Although they have a huge plan of expansion, every year they try to do something new in a market. They are expanding, diversifying their business into multiple sectors. Still, they are declaring a good amount of dividend to their shareholder to create a balance between growth of a company and shareholder. L&T can be a second example. So there are so many big companies in a market. Even Tata is a good example of dividend paying stock. So there are so many stocks, so many big companies who try to establish a good relation between growth of company and distribution of shareholders, because they do understand the concept of utilization of money. They do understand the concept of a source of capital from a money. Because if equity shareholder start moving from the company, it will not good for any company. That's why they try to create a balance. So first significance, always create a balance between a growth and a distribution of a shareholder, distribution to the shareholder. The second one, your dividend policy impact the valuation of a firm, because when we are talking about the value of a firm, the value of a firm is calculated as market price into number of share, number of outstanding share. So value of firm will depend on a market price, but number of share is something which will remain stable. The number of outstanding share cannot increase your book of account until unless you are not issuing a fresh share in a market. So number of share which will remain constant, but what will change is the market price. So if you want to increase the value of your share, you are mainly concerned about a market price. By changing the market price, the value of firm will change, the value of company will change, the market capitalization of company will change. So this dividend policy is a critically influence the value of a firm. If your company is declaring a high amount of dividend, if your company decided to declare a high amount of dividend in a market, that declaration of a dividend will attract more investors. That declaration of dividend will attract new investor into your company share, which will suddenly increase the demand of your share in a market. And as per theory of economics, demand and supply, if any product have a higher demand, the price of that particular commodity will go up. The same concept will applicable into share market. Due to declaration of a high amount of dividend, so many new investors will try to make an investment into your company, and due to that demand, the price of your share will go up. So in valuation part, although number of share is constant, but due to increase in the market price, the value of firm will increase. That's why it's written that the dividend policy will influence the value of a firm. Third one, we say it's always create a balance between a long-term financing decision and wealth maximization approach. I told you when we are discussing a unit 1, there is a concept called profit maximization and there is another concept called wealth maximization. Wealth maximization is always concerned about a longer period, and profit maximization is concerned about a shorter period. So dividend policy is something which is linked to a wealth maximization. Dividend policy seems to be a one-time decision or short-term decision or the decision taken for a 1 year, but it will always impact a long-term value of a firm. Always try to create a value which will consider as a wealth for a company. So it's always create a balance between what is your financing need, what's your financing decision, how much money you would like to create from market, how much money you will create a new fund from the market, because if you are declaring a high amount of dividend, if you are declaring a high amount of dividend, automatically when you try to sell your new share in a market, investor will be ready to buy it. Because investor know that this company have a good record of paying dividend. That past experience of investor will help you to create easy creation of a new fund in a market. So always when a company is declaring a dividend, this is also create a balance between long-term financing decision and wealth maximization concept. Because if companies deny to pay a dividend, if company is not ready to pay a dividend, it clearly give a message in the market that company does not have a surplus fund, company is not creating a huge profit that will be distributed back to the shareholder. It means which is going to a negative factor for raising a new capital from a market. So that become a very significant part of dividend policy. The fourth one, market price gets affected if dividend paid are less. I already explained you because the investor have one mentality to earn a profit on their investment. That profit in a form of regular income, and that regular income is coming as a dividend. So if company is not paying dividend, automatically it will hamper the goodwill of a company and market price may go down. Next, if company have paid more dividend, let's assume if company to increase their market price, if to come as a manager, you know that if you declare a high amount of dividend, you can attract more investment from a market. But if you paid higher amount of dividend just to attract a more investor from a market, definitely you are keeping a low amount as a retained earning, and due to lack of retained earning, due to shortage of retained earning, you cannot improve your company, you cannot modernize your company, you cannot fund the expansion plan of your company. The dividend policy is not only to give a high dividend to the shareholder, but also to keep a watch on retained earning, because retained earning is an important parameter. The retained earning is a portion of fund which is used by company for their expansion and modernization, for their growth, for establishment of new factory, for establishment of a new offices. So all these factors will be considered in dividend policy. Dividend policy is not only to decide a higher amount of dividend, but also to keep a check on a retained earning portion. Okay. So if we try to sum up, dividend policy effect on a financial structure, the flow of fund, corporate liquidity, a stock price, growth of a company, as well as investor satisfaction. And a dividend decision becomes so important, which is impacting the internal as well as external factor of a finance. Because when we are talking about the internal factor in a corporate finance, an internal factor of a financial management, it's always talk about the financial structure of a company, which is a leverage ratio. What are the amount of equity and debt in my capital? So your dividend decision will impact your capital structure. The dividend decision will impact your financial structure. Your dividend decision also impact the flow of fund, like how much money will go out from the company out of your profit, and what portion of money will remain with you as a retained earning. So dividend decision is impacting on your flow of fund. It's also impact the liquidity of a company, because if company is keeping more retained earning, company is good in liquidity, company will high in a cash that can be utilized in the working capital management. And if company is paying a high amount of dividend, the retained earning amount will go down, and that will impact on corporate liquidity. So these all are considered as a internal factor of finance. Similarly, it will impact the external factor. Like your dividend will decide your stock price. A stock price is directly influenced by the dividend, which is an external factor for a company. Your dividend directly impact the growth of a company. Growth is a mix of external as well as internal factor, because when we calculate a sustainable growth, we do consider the concept of a market growth, which is indicated by beta, which is called leverage and unleveraged growth. So growth of company sometimes mostly is considered as an internal thing, but it do have an impact from external factors. So I'm keeping as an external part of that. So in external finance, your dividend will impact on a stock market. Your dividend have an impact on a growth of a company. And the most important parameter, your dividend will impact the investor satisfaction. The investor satisfaction is an upcoming area into financial management, which is a part of behavior finance. But satisfaction cannot measure on a scale. Satisfaction will be measured on a qualitative scale. It might be possible certain investor is very happy with a low amount of dividend. He is very satisfied, while other investors have a different expectation from the same company. They are looking for something a higher amount of dividend. So dividend decision will talk about the investor satisfaction as well. So these are the major parameters. So at the last is a sum up of the entire dividend decision. So dividend decision is very significant into all these factors. That's the internal financial matter as well as external financial matter. Any confusion? So we will end our class over here. The remaining we will discuss in the next class. Any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. As we discuss about our this new component of your examination pattern, please search a topic and start preparing a presentation. That is a 12 to 15 minute video on that topic. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And sir, when we have to submit that video, sir?
Before 15th of next month.
Okay, sir.
Okay.